Hi, so it goes without saying that I am going to be covering this and talk about the new reveals for Kita Sanctuary, which most of these cards aren't Genesis, by the way. I thought we are getting four reveals, but turns out there's only three, and one of them is an encounter, so there's not that many. I don't know why they are making cards that pretend to be Genesis, though, still. It's a bit weird. Maybe they just want to make new artworks. I have no idea. So anyway, Knowledgeable Eagle. This card, it's a bit like a Painkiller Angel, apparently, from what it sounded like on the stream, because they actually referenced that card. And then about it boosted, if you have a Vanguard only one clan, you can put this into your soul. So there's no draw, but you gain soul. And then the other ability is, if it's soul blasted, you basically just soul charge. It's just like Orange Witch Valencia or Great Witch Grappa from the old days, but you only soul charge one card. So not quite as good. But this card, obviously, it's just intended that as one that's kind of like, flavor of the set kind of cards, where you just make a bunch of commons which relate a bit to how some of the bosses work in that set. You could use this in Ezel or Luard or anything, to be fair, as well, if you need to. And then next card, Clear Magic Vivine, sorry. If you have a Vanguard with Genesis for its clan, it's treated as a Genesis only, so it's the same thing as Foros, another kind of fake Genesis card. And then if you have a grade 3 or greater with Minerva in its name, this cost can be paid with Energy Blast 3. So the cost itself is actually Can Blast 1, but you can change it for Energy Blast 3 just because you play Minerva. That could, in fact, be quite handy in premium format as well, technically speaking, because you don't have to worry about, you don't have to rely on energy either. So Can Blast 1, draw card, choose a card from your drop and put it into your soul. Very handy. You can put your witches back in. You can put a grade 3 Regalia into your soul, so you get your 5k power to front row. You can also get, on top of all that, your grade 4 Minerva, which we'll get to soon, into your soul. So quite handy all around, and you're also building soul, so it makes the costs easier to pay as well. Then the next skill, when your grade 3 or greater Vanguard Minerva's name attacks, if you have not restood or stand by this ability this turn, so basically on your first Vanguard swing, Can Blast 1 and stand this unit. Obviously they did that way because they don't want you to drive check a crit with Minerva on the first check, or an OT, and just ban the OT. And then just restand the grade 2 to then swing twice with a crit. They don't want you to do it that way, so the idea is to stop that, I think. That's why it doesn't respond to late attack. Obviously, it's also inconvenient because you can't decide if you want to pay the cost or not based on if your opponent checks an OT and a damage check or something, or checks 2 damage triggers. But on top of all that, so then you stand it and it gains 5. And that's kind of the main thing, really. It gets 5k, very good ability, because what that means is that, let's just say you go first, and there's also another thing, is that it gives you more attack while you're going first without having to rely on Angelica or Thassus, so it's another way of actually doing it, or Painkiller Angel, I guess, if you don't play any of the other Soul Blasters. Now you don't actually have to start using your Camels, you can just use this instead. Obviously, it's still CB1. It's not really like a hard replacement. It just kind of, it makes the deck feel a little bit smoother because you're not kind of wasting all that energy, just messing around the resources a bit. Like, it means you have less to juggle in the deck, so you can probably make more clean and refined deck lists because you're not relying on like too much crazy stuff just to kind of keep the engine going as well. So it's a bit healthier now, the deck to play a little bit, I'd say, because I think the big problem with Minerva is it's always felt a bit like everything you try to do, there's a lot of kind of competition going on, and there's a lot of pressure going on as you're kind of trying to keep all the combos going together and things. But I think this deck kind of relaxes the pressure a bit now compared to before. So yeah, the 5k, great. You swing going first. Your opponent's on grade 2, 10k base. You got the restand plus 5. You end up with 15k, but then you have Minerva gaining 5k to front row, 20k power. So damage trigger doesn't really matter. They still have to intercept or drop a card from hand. So that's really good as well. And obviously if you have a booster, it does kind of poke a more inconvenient number because, 28k if you're boosting. But otherwise you can just attack boosted if you want on the first swing, which also works. Then you have 18k for your first swing. So you're making guarding a little bit more awkward. Your opponent can't just be like, okay, I'll just drop this one grade 1 from hand or intercept with this grade 2 or whatever, right? So it makes guarding a little bit more trickier now. They might have to overguard with triggers here and there. Which, this is one of the situations where I think 10k shield grade 1s or draw triggers actually end up feeling a little bit nicer if you're playing against this card as well. But also it's a restander as well, so a lot of applications in premium too, if you play Minerva using Vanguard as well, any Minerva. So you can stride Minerva if you wanted to have this as a restand and gain 5. while ignoring your other Regalia cards. Or you can just use base grade 3 Minerva if you want as well, but obviously you don't get markers for doing that. So quite handy in general. Then we have the grade 4. So grade 4 cannot be ridden other than by this card's ability. And if your opponent is grade 3 or greater, then it gets all of the following abilities after that. So obviously you can't use it if you high roll, which is fine, just discard it or something. Discard it and then just add it back to your soul with this grade 2 here. So the ride line is actually, it's a bit like Beth Saga, what they've done to this deck. By the way, this grade 2 doesn't care if your opponent's on grade 3, unlike the Beth Saga grade 2. But in addition to that, Beth Saga is also another deck where you just dump stuff into your drop zone. So obviously for your ride line. So that's actually one of the reasons why it's so efficient. And then you have energy usage in Beth Saga, which is so efficient in that deck. I'd say it's still more efficient than Minerva using energy, but this is definitely handy to have. Just the fact you can just use energy instead of using counterblast, because I feel like Minerva's a really awkward deck to try and capitalize energy in at the moment as well. There's a lot of stuff you kind of feel that you're forcing yourself to play. And one of the deck lists that I tried practicing for Worlds, I had stuff like Energy Blast 2 cards, and then just rely on hard drawing off the energy generator. I've had that as well. But then if you want to do Energy Blast 3, it feels like you have to play a lot more. So even if you don't feel like playing them. So it's very awkward at the moment, but this would kind of smooth it out a bit as well, so you don't feel that kind of like awkwardness when you see, oh, there's some wasted energy here that, you know, that makes you feel a little bit weird playing with. Yeah, so obviously you can just put this back to your soul with the grade 2, and then after that it has the other ability. So during your turn, all of your front row units get 10k power, so it's just like Persona Ride as well, in addition to all that. Oh yeah, and also you can't ride this grade 4, you can't hard ride it, so you can't do anything with it in premium unless you rely on the skill, which you get to in a sec. So the skill for that is Act in Soul, so another card that activates from the soul, which is pretty cool. Bind a Omniscience Regalia Minerva on Vanguard and put a card from your hand into soul and ride this as stand. So you're basically just going straight into grade 4, even on turn 3, as long as your opponent's on grade 3. And that means you get triple drive, just like Stride deck sets. This is sort of like a fake Stride in a way. And then if a card with only Genesis for its clan was put into soul for this cost, and you did not ride during the ride phase this turn, this unit gets the ability where all of your foreign units get 5k until end of turn. So that's really handy because obviously, well, for one thing, you need to put Genesis obviously to get the 5k buffs, but it's not really forcing you quite as much in case you brick that badly. You can still access the other components of the skill as well. So I think they kind of have made the Genesis name a bit less important than before. So if you're playing Bowser to Coco or something, it still feels really good to play this deck. And then on top of that, at the end of the turn, retire this card and then ride the bound card back as rest position. Now this gets a bit interesting because of the premium application, which is pretty confusing, and I think I need to do some ruling checks on that. But next ability, Auto Vanguard Circle, once per turn. When this unit attacks, cost Counterblast 1, Soul Blast 3, so just like the base Minerva. Only difference is you're not discarding card, you've already paid that cost during your act skill. At the end of battle, you stand this, it gets -2 drive, exact same thing, but it's obviously going from 3 drives to 1 drive, rather than having even 2. It's -2 rather than -1. So kind of handy because it means you're checking more, but I don't think they want to have more than 1 drive check on restands in D format at the moment. They want to have over triggers with 100 million that could restand maybe, but nah, we can't have restanding Vanguards with 2 drives. That might be a bit too much. I think Vanguard, or whatever his name is, can do it though. I think there are actually maybe a few exceptions I forgot all about, but it's not very common for a restander to have 2 drives, I don't think. And I think a deck like Minerva anyway has a lot of restanding rear guards and, well, Soul Blast Superior Calling rear guards, so it'd be a bit awkward to give that to a deck like that anyway. So very interesting all around. You plus from it as well, so if your opponent high rolls you, if you use this card, you end up more or less plussing because you only neg 1 from hand, right? Which is the same thing that you're going to compensate off your drive check, but then on top of that you're also using a triple drive Vanguard, so you're plussing 1 from that, and you're filtering your deck a little bit more as well by 1 card, which makes it better. If you Persona Ride, you're also getting an additional 10, but because it says here something about if a card with only Genesis for its clan was put into soul for this cost and you did not ride during the ride phase this turn. So basically, if you Persona Ride, you lose the plus 5k ability, and obviously if you ride over Minerva, you lose the other plus 5k ability. So in that case, you're only going to end up with the 2+10s, which is from the Persona Ride, and the first skill during your turn over from units getting 10,000 power. So Persona Riding is still good, but obviously the combo with the grade 4 is a bit smaller. It's not as big of a gap. So you get the extra 5k bonus. Well, net total is going to be +5 to front row. Still very good. I think Persona Riding is still pretty good in this deck as well. So they haven't like tried to just replace Minerva straight up. So this feels a bit like a hybrid between Persona Ride decks and Stride deck sets in a way. Kind of funny actually. That is something that they've done that's a bit different as well. So it's a bit like a hybrid of everything. And also you can use Balsa to Coco because you don't have a G zone. So pretty cool. But as for premium format is very interesting because you can actually use this if you have Minerva as your heart. So if you go into Amaruda or something, give 10k and a crit to your rear guard and just draw 2, get your pluses out of the way, get your crits and power out of the way. And then you can just ride this from your soul by binding your stride. And that's kind of awkward because obviously at the end of the turn, you have to then retire this and then bring back your stride. So I need a bit of a rolling check on what happens to stride. I think though the stride would leave, but I think it's wait, strides they leave. I'm pretty sure strides leave at the beginning of the end phase before effects resolve actually. So that there is something weird there. I need to check the rollings on this stuff. But and that being said, can you ride a stride if a card effect says to do it? I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff with this, so very interesting. I don't know if they just broke the format here, but obviously I'm reacting to this really quickly, so maybe I'll notice something later that I got wrong in this, and obviously I have to rush back as well to get on with some other things. But that's kind of interesting. So the other thing I kind of find interesting about this card is that in premium format, one of the big issues, the biggest issue I have with Seal Yggdrasil is that if you don't draw into it, you basically do nothing in the game. So being able to play this is not too bad. Oh, and also you do lose out on your revelation ability, as in the checking top card. So you have to do it on your grade 3 as well. Furthermore, I would say it's handy that you can kind of pull it out of your soul, ride it over, and then you have access to restand it, because then what you end up doing is that you still get your multi-attacking without having Seal Yggdrasil. So it's not as good as Seal Yggdrasil. Obviously it's weaker as well. But on top of all that, I think it's something to really consider with deck building as well, just so that obviously if you play Minerva as your grade 3, you don't have force markers as well, so that's also a downside in addition. So I don't know, it's just kind of interesting stuff to kind of think about. You know, when you just want to see how much you can exploit a card and see if you can find something, right? It's one of those things. But other than that, I mean, you could use it with Musipal, I guess, or you could always go Harmonix Messiah actually as well, and then just ping yourself a damage and then go into this after. There's a lot of random combos you could do in addition, so interesting. So yeah, that's kind of it. And then lastly, we've got the secret rare as well. So this is great news. I'm so happy about this. Oh, I can't even show you the full screen because I've set it up a bit differently. So this card is in secret rare. It's not serial number because I hate serial numbers so much. It's not an alternate art either. So I had this kind of theory that the reason why the original D Minerva was a serial number was because they didn't want to pay Tony Taka more money. If you think about it, in that set you had Luquia, Maelstrom, and Minerva. Which cards got orders? Luquia and Maelstrom got orders printed on their artworks, but the Kita one, they put Angelica instead, and it was a generic. So they kind of didn't follow that pattern, which maybe thank God they didn't, but because I think the deck has kind of feels a bit smoother without playing orders anyway. But then on top of that, you've also got the alternate art, so secret rares for Luquia and Maelstrom, but I think someone's told me that they came from Cardfight 0, so there's a little bit of I'm a bit uncertain now because of that bit, but because obviously that gives a reason. But I think serial number was probably put in there just so that there's something for Minerva to look kind of, I guess, so it doesn't look shafted compared to the other two. I think that's probably the logic behind serial number rare, but it really sucked for as a collector. It was kind of really cringe, but I like this a lot more. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of the artwork for Minerva, but I think the secret rare actually makes it way, way, way better for some reason. I think the background just goes really, really nicely with it. So, and obviously color composition is always a big thing as well. So it looks clean, and definitely want to play this now. So yeah, it's very cool deck. Looks like can't wait to maybe just theory craft a little bit, or just come up with a list, I guess. So much for all that time I spent practicing or trying to figure out a list for Minerva for Worlds, which I just threw to the wayside last minute because I got worried about Bavsagra and over triggers, and I realized, you know what, someone's definitely going to Bavsagra OT me, so I decided to play Raziel instead, which didn't really help that much more because I only won one of the games I got OT'd in anyway. So yeah, that's kind of it for now. So let me know what you think. Any cool premium interactions, and probably have to look into deck building this as well. But I don't think you have to play 4 Minervas. Maybe you could probably get away with playing less than 4. However, I think seeing this card ASAP is really good. So it's very mixed at the moment. Like, you can be very cheeky, go 3 Persona Rides, 3 of this or whatever. Just I guess just fit around the ratios. It depends how much you want to make use of Persona Ride. But also Thassus. Well, Thassus is very good at trying to search for this card because you're checking top 3, just like your ride line checks top 5. Oh, actually, that reminds me. I think Minerva needs to have grade 3 Regalian Soul to get the 5k. I don't think it works with grade 3 or greater. I have to double check that, but I think it's only grade 3 only. But other than that, there's also Foros. So Foros is a really good cheap +1 as well that you can play. But obviously with the new grade 2, with Angelic already existing, Kamal, the deck is kind of awkward right now. Obviously Kamal, you can just call that later. You don't have to use it from your hand. You can just put that into your soul with some other cards. But I think they've made it very awkward grade 2s in Genesis because a lot of the best cards are Genesis cards, in fact. So there's also that to kind of consider as well when you're deck building. But I think Thassus has gone better. It's just that I'm not sure if you have space for it because you want to abuse other stuff as well. You want to abuse Foros. And Foros has always been at odds with Thassus. I think you need boosts more than anything. So Bowser to Coco, absolute must pick up. 100% pick that card up as well. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, share anything down below, your thoughts, and I will see you guys around. Bye.